There's the clicker. Well, let me get into this quickly because we don't always have a lot of time on this kind of stuff. Let's see if I can get it to go forward.
I'm having trouble here, so I'm just going to do it manually and stop and go.
Why don't you do that? Let's whack through this thing. All right, so as we said, St. Vincent de Paul does a lot of emergency services, housing, home services, blah, 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 moving along. What we think of is the waste stream as an asset. And that's what the thrift industry is starting to turn into, is that most of the time, a lot of the stuff that we got wasn't reusable, and we had to dispose of that material. Of course, disposing of it used to, in the good old days, mean just putting it into the tip and away it went. Now we recognize that there's a vast sucking sound out there that is being created by industry that actually wants the commodities that we get in bulk. And we generally process anywhere from 60 to 100 tons of products a day. So as a result of that, we get a whole mass of this material and we can gang it all together in a way that we can actually get it to market. And that's the trick that's going on right now in the thrift industry is that things that never had a market before now have markets. Move through this. Todd. Because this is what we think of. You know, that used to be a waste, that's now an asset, and we get a lot of that stuff out of these transfer sites and dumps moving along. And what does it look like? Well, let's see. Obviously, the retail thrift industry is what it is, and we continue to get a lot of product out of these transfer sites and dumps that is reusable. About 60% of all the product that I sell in my retail stores, and we sell a lot of stuff, about 60% comes from transfer sites and dumps. It's amazing how much material is really available. Moving ahead. Appliance recycling, of course, has been very big for us over the years. We produce about 400 appliances per month. Out of that, we need a feedstock coming out of the transfer sites of about 14 tons a day. We do the CFC recovery. That CFC recovery, we not only take the gas out of the refrigerators, but we clean it, return it to factory spec, sell it back to the marketplace. The oil is cleaned. We pull the CFCs out of it, pull the acid and the water out of it, and that goes back into our diesel fuel. Moving along. Used books used to be something that the thrift industry never did very well, and of course with the online book business it's really taken off where there's a lot of used books out in the marketplace. We do a hybrid. We do online books and we do retail books. We sell in Lane County, which is a relatively small, well, about 300,000 people, about 1.2 million books per year retail. These are the hoi polloi books. About 50% of it that we sell is romance novels. Now, who buys those? It's actually senior citizens. A lot of elderly read the romances endlessly. What can I say about that? Things that you wouldn't think of having a marketplace. CDs, DVDs, and tapes. All of these have both primary markets and retail establishments. You wouldn't think VHSs would have any market whatsoever. It's really old technology. If you think about resort or recreational areas or places where people have summer cabins or whatever else, they take their old VHS machine, put it up there, and then they just go down to a store like ours, pick up a few of these things, go out there for the weekend. Children's VHS also is very popular out in the marketplace today, so it continues to have a life even when you wouldn't think so. It also has overseas markets for the plastic and the resin, all of which we can find a market for. Moving along. This is, of course, one of my favorite, is from my friends in the United Kingdom. These things were normally going over to the dumps in the United Kingdom. We bring in about a container a week of this brown furniture. That's armoires and sideboards, whatever else. And these would have gone into the tip over there. And as a result of that, we're able to retail that product and make a profit off of it and then send some of the funds back over to the United Kingdom and other places. It's a very good symbiotic relationship and an unusual material. Go ahead. Mattress rebuilding. Mattress rebuilding is one of those really interesting little businesses where there's two types of mattress rebuilding. It's really ugly or it's really good. The really ugly is one where someone just puts a slipcover over the top of it and calls it rebuilt. That's about 60% of the rebuilt mattresses out in the marketplace are that kind of mattresses where it's got kinds of bugs all inside of it. And then there's our kind. And what we do is we strip them down to the springs to use all new materials and then put it on top of the mattresses. And as a result of that, we're able to create a whole new line of products out of rebuilt mattresses. Used springs, used wood, new materials. Same way with Fluffy the dog down there with our pet bed line. And that's toppers off of used mattresses that have been sterilized. Then post-manufacturing waste Dacron and cotton goes back into it. And we garnet that in our own machine that we got from San Francisco, actually. Across the Airflex, which creates a very nice line of product, which creates jobs and employment for our community. Moving along. Tumbled glass, window glass doesn't really have much of a market. Of course, as everybody knows in the waste stream, we take that product in. Since it's a free feedstock, I get to go ahead and put that out as tumbled glass. It goes back to basically to the floral industry and the aquarium folks. Move along. We also take the window glass, melt it, and recast it as new objects, and this has been the Aurora Glass Foundry. We've had that in operation about the last 15 years. So you can actually add value to products that would normally only end up in the waste stream. And actually they have value to us. So that's been a successful job developer for a number of years for us. Moving along. This is one of the more interesting ventures we're getting into. Nobody really wants to use a used candle. We use used candles a lot, and we separate them by color. And the ones that don't have, that were kind of mixed colors, they go into our fire starter line, which is cotton from mattresses that we've recycled, and then combined with paraffin, mixed colored paraffin to create a line of fire starters. And the stuff on the right-hand side, actually that was a project where there was a waste stream that had about 20 tons of mixed candle wax that came into them and sent them up to us. So we sorted it by color, put it out as a product called Brick-A-Wax, that's now being sold to the Michaels stores. Moving along. Mattress recycling, of course, we do about 160 to 180,000 mattresses, our large facilities here in Oakland. I think there's going to be a tour of that facility on Friday. That's been a very successful venture, and it's really key on that was finding markets for the cotton. And the cotton actually is now, 2 years ago, the cotton was sent overseas to Pakistan when they had those large floods, and they didn't have any cotton coming in, so they actually took the dumped cotton out of this country and imported it over there and made your clothing and came back as t-shirts. Think about that. Moving along. These kind of commodities, typically in the waste stream, you know, that thrift organizations get, really have no real secondary value, and they used to be a real clog in the marketplace. Now they actually have all secondary markets. Mixed plastics, we can bale up and sell all the time. The single shoes, for example, has a market in Afghanistan, Angola, and Cambodia for amputees, those associated with landmines. Stuffed toys go to Iraq, and that's a variety of reasons for that. So what you find is that things that typically would not have a market now have very strong markets. And as a result of that, we've been able to push the thrift industry from being one of the places that used to be a major contributor to landfill to a place where we approach about 95% recycling. And as a result of that, I think we're getting close to zero waste. Moving on. Oh, what's that one though? Didn't we do that one? Moving along, keep going. Okay. This is an interesting one. The economic impact of solid waste related industry. As you can see, it actually creates a fair amount of money for us. The used merchandise industry experienced 60% employment growth between 2005 and 2010. We were one of the largest growth industries in our region, and it's basically all out of recycled goods. The other part is that as a result of the massive amount of material we're able to pull out of the waste stream, we're actually decreasing the real cost of living in our community. It's a very interesting dynamic. Moving along. As a result of that, we get this kind of a gap out of our business, and this is us moving along, gross receipts moving along. What gives us then is the freedom in time when economics are really driving a lot of social services, service agencies either down or out of business. We're actually able to increase our human services outreach so that the money derived from the waste stream that used to be thought of as a liability that really nobody else wanted now has a vast sucking sound that is allowing us to create real jobs and employment. Thank you.